So here, this is not a comprehensive list by any stretch or by any means, but you can see here magnesium. Magnesium deficiency is one of the nutrients. About 20% of people with gluten sensitivity are magnesium deficient compared to the regular population. And so magnesium deficiency causes an increase in blood pressure. Ladies, if you were ever with child and you were ever diagnosed or know of anyone who was ever diagnosed with the condition preeclampsia, which is the blood pressure problem associated with pregnancy, you know that if you were treated in a hospital, what did they treat you with? They treated you with magnesium sulfate. Generally, that's the treatment for preeclampsia in an emergency situation, is the IV magnesium. It's because we know magnesium naturally keeps blood pressure normalized and it can help to lower blood pressure. So magnesium, very important in regulating healthy blood pressure levels, and we know gluten can induce magnesium deficiency. We also know gluten can induce calcium deficiency. Guess what? Calcium deficiency also can increase blood pressure. Okay, so remember, calcium and magnesium, they regulate, they're electrolytes, so they regulate the contractility of muscles. Well, your blood vessels are muscles, your heart's a muscle, right? And so if your heart muscle and your blood vessels as muscles are constantly too tight, if you will, imagine a spasm or a constriction of those muscles, then the blood vessels won't dilate properly. Again, they're supposed to dilate and extend and relax, and that's done through the action of magnesium and calcium regulating that electrolyte flow of neurotransmitters in talking to the muscles to allow them to properly vasodilate and vasoconstrict. So magnesium and calcium deficiency, both from that perspective, from a blood pressure perspective, but also from a heart muscle, from the muscle itself. Okay, regulate muscle contractility. Very, very important for that. And again, that helps regulate blood flow to the different tissues of the body through the cardiovascular system. We also know that nutritional deficiencies like folate, I'm gonna pick these ones together. Folate, vitamin B2 and B12 rather, and vitamin B6. These three, okay. These three together will lead to an increase in a compound called homocysteine. Now, homocysteine, everybody produces it. It's a natural exhaust product of the body. But the problem with too much homocysteine is it's cardiotoxic. It's vascular toxic. It's a toxin in high amounts to the cardiovascular system. It's been associated, it's actually been directly linked, a causal relationship, if you will, to increased risk for stroke and heart attack. And it's because homocysteine causes inflammation to the blood vessels. So how do we lower homocysteine? There's only one way to lower it, and that's vitamins. That's why there's no prescription drug per se to lower homocysteine. So this is another kind of pearl for you tonight. If you think you might have heart disease or heart issues, you need to ask your doctor to measure your homocysteine level. Now, if it's greater than 9, okay, so if it's higher than 9, then it's too high. And so you might, in that regard, you might consider asking about folate, B12, and B6 supplementally to help bring it back down under that level, under that 9 as a total. So those three play a major role in heart disease just through this homocysteine mechanism. Now, B vitamins as a rule, we'll get to B1 in a minute, but B vitamins as a rule, they're necessary for the production of ATP, for energy, okay, to produce energy. And that's that energy that remember, your heart doesn't get to go to bed when you do. It has to beat all night. It beats your entire life, otherwise you die. And it needs a vast quantity of ATP. So these B vitamin deficiencies lead to a difficult time for your body to properly produce enough energy substrate to drive the energetic process of contracting and relaxing indefinitely, right? So B vitamin deficiency can make it harder for your heart to work. And a number of B vitamin deficiencies are linked to cardiovascular disease in other ways, but particularly B1. Vitamin B1 deficiency, this one Very critical. Vitamin B1 deficiency can cause a disease called beriberi. Now, there are two different kinds of beriberi. One of them, called wet beriberi, affects your heart. And so what this is going to lead to potentially is, if it's bad enough, it'll lead to congestive heart failure. Congestive heart failure, obviously a form of cardiovascular disease as well. So congestive heart failure can be caused by vitamin B1 deficiency. And then on this other side, we've got potassium. And we can kind of bring our arrow back up here, because potassium deficiency also causes an increase in blood pressure. Potassium is also an electrolyte. It plays a role in muscle contractility, the proper utilization of muscles. So very, very important to understand that calcium, magnesium, potassium, those are really critical, important electrolytes that balance heart function. And then we have CoQ10. And CoQ10, coenzyme Q10, which is not a vitamin, but it's a B vitamin-like substance that allows your cells to generate energy. So whereas B vitamins also are necessary for ATP production, so too is CoQ10. Without CoQ10, it's very difficult for your body to produce adequate energy in the mitochondria. Here's what else we know about CoQ10 deficiency, though. CoQ10, if it's too low, leads to an increase in blood pressure. We know that happens. We know that CoQ10 deficiency can also cause congestive heart failure. Just like vitamin B1 deficiency can cause congestive heart failure, so too can CoQ10 deficiency. As a matter of fact, I was involved a number of years ago, almost 20 years ago. The University of Texas asked me to be a part of a study where they wanted to use CoQ10 in heart disease, particularly in blood pressure, congestive heart failure patients. And when I got there to meet with the other doctors in charge of the study, they actually had created the research study. They were using 30 milligrams of CoQ10 on patients with severe congestive heart failure. And I said, why are you using 30 milligrams? And they said, it sounded like a good dose. They really didn't have an answer, which I thought was not scientific at all, which made me question whether I wanted to be involved with this study. But after probing them further, I realized that they had picked this dose on purpose, and that the study was actually designed to fail. And that's important to understand, because many of you may read articles, and a perfect example of something that's recently happened is vitamin E, for example. Supplemental vitamin E was linked to cancer, but there's really not a connection between vitamin E supplementation and cancer. It's that the study was designed to create that connection. In essence, doctors understand that doctors can design studies to be misleading or manipulative. And in this case, they were trying to get me to be involved in a study where they were using 30 milligrams of CoQ10 for congestive heart failure so that they could prove CoQ10 was ineffective. Because the way a news media picks up a research study and promotes it is they say, oh, CoQ10 found not to be effective for heart disease, but they don't talk about the fact that that dose, 30 milligrams, is like trying to spit on a forest fire. You're not going to touch congestive heart failure with only 30 milligrams of CoQ10. As a matter of fact, you've got to get at least up to 300, 10 times this dose to have any impact on a severe enough case of congestive heart failure. So I did not participate in that study because they designed it to fail, and I wasn't going to play a role in trying to basically badmouth nutrition when I knew CoQ10 was very effective for congestive heart failure, because there are other studies that had proven it. Hey, don't forget to check out the rest of the series right here. Make sure you hit subscribe below. And as always, thanks for tuning in.